Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. A huge week at the White House as President Trump claims victory after being cleared of collusion and obstruction in the Mueller report. The president now vowing to go public with the FISA documents used by the FBI to investigate his campaign.
I have plans to declassify and release. I have plans to absolutely release. A lot of people wanted me to do it a long time ago. I'm glad I didn't do it. We got a great result without having to do it. They wanted an insurance policy against me. And what we were playing out until just recently was the insurance policy. They wanted to do a subversion. It was treason. It was really treason. If the Republican Party had done this to the Democrats, if we had done this to President Obama, you'd have 100 people in jail right now, and it would be treason.
This news coming as the 2020 race heats up. So how will the president use this to his advantage? For that, we turn to the manager of the Trump 2020 campaign, Brad Parscale. Brad, so president's going on offense now. He's going to use this Mueller report to bludgeon the Democrats. How exactly is he going to do that, and how big of a part of the campaign will this be?
Well, look, I mean, I think the president's right, what you just read there. I mean, for 2 years they've been attacking him. No president has ever deserved that, and no president should ever deserve that again, and I hope they do everything to prevent this. I mean, there's families across America that can't even sit down with people anymore and do things because of how much partisan and just how much dividing this is.
Are you referring to my family?
Well, right?
Yeah, my mom is a little upset with the Mueller report. I can tell you that.
They had sold this narrative so much, and so many congressmen and people in the media and so many people have done so much to try to sell this like it was fact when there was zero fact of collusion.
So how will he exploit this in the campaign? Is this something he's going to do whenever a Democrat says something? He's going to say, well, you were wrong about that, probably wrong about this too.
Look, I don't know if there's a tactic that's directly related to hey, you lied about this, you lied about that. But look, I think it does show what the Democrats are capable of. I think it shows the false narrative they're doing. I mean, I completely think that they are willing to lie 100% for anything because they can't fight this president on policy.
Right, so you could say, if you were the president, they're not telling you the truth about the border crisis, just like they didn't tell you the truth about Russia collusion.
Just like they're not telling you the truth about about health care also. You know, they're saying we're not going to let people with pre-existing conditions. Complete lie as well. Immigration. I mean, if you see the border this week, it's been horrible. I mean,
record amounts of people pouring through.
Yes.
So the media also took it in between the eyes. Fake news has now been vindicated. You know, for the last 2 years, he's been criticized very strongly for saying fake news is the enemy of the people. He was right. Fake news drove this Russia collusion story, and now it's over. What does the media do next?
Yeah, it's funny. I have to say one thing. I've worked for this man for years, almost a decade, and I'll tell you, he tends to be right over and over and over again. Even sometimes where I go, wait, what? I said, but it comes out to be he's right. He has an unbelievable intuition to understand what's happening. I mean, he's just lived in the presence for so many decades of this, and I think he's going to be right about the things he's moving forward with also. And I just can't believe what the media did. I mean, myself, it was just, you know, what are you doing? What's the staff doing? And what are all these things? And they were just all fake.
The whole thing was fake.
It was so fake.
The whole thing was fake. And now they have a huge gaping hole in their programming. I don't know what they're going to do now. Maybe, who knows? It's not up to me. It's up to them. All right, so big rally in Michigan Thursday night. You guys are going to try to hit those same Rust Belt states, I imagine, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Tell us about the strategy with the map.
So I think that from this Michigan rally, you can also see in the data, just like we saw in the El Paso rally, we saw new people coming. Democrats, 30, 40, 50% Democrats. You saw blue-collar Democrats, African Americans, Latinos. You see him expanding. So this is opening up our map. Minnesota. Michigan come back.
Is Minnesota in play?
I think Minnesota's in play. I think New Hampshire's in play. I think New Mexico's in play. I think Nevada's now back in play.
What kind of gives you the sense that those states like Minnesota or New Mexico?
Polling data, what's changing, the type of voter that are in those states, what he's done for the economy, the lies and deceit of the Democrat Party lying to those people. I think the president is in a very good position in 2020 to open up the map. And I think that is a great place for us to be and a great place for this president to be. They play with the data a lot. But just like in 2016 when I was one of the very few people, and we were the few people that actually saw the right data, we're not going to listen to their fake narrative data. No, listen to their fake there were fake stories about everything else.
So you're saying if you have a rally in, say, Michigan or something like that, you can see how many Democrats are there, and you believe 30% possibly Democrats represented in a rally like that in a state like Michigan?
When they came into the rally in Michigan, just like in El Paso, we require them to get their cell phone number, and we connect them back to the voter file. We know exactly how they voted in the past. What things they do, and we had tens of thousands of registrants. I believe it was 34% of the people that came to the Michigan rally were Democrats.
Wow.
I think that's a significant number. Almost half had only voted once in the last 4 elections.
So you're still harvesting new voters, first-time voters, independents, and Democrats?
I'm harvesting nearly 1 million voters' data information in key swing states every month.
That must terrify the Democrats.
Yeah, we are, put it this way, we are 4 times ahead of where we were in 2016. I plan on being 6 to 8 times ahead in data. That's tens of millions of records. I hope to have every record for every voter I need by Election Day.
Good. Now, what is the data telling you about socialism? The Green New Deal, are people responding to that, or is this a killer at the ballot box?
I mean, look, I think it's a great issue for the president. I think it's just, as he said as I was saying all week, I think it's incredible how much they just wanted $100 trillion, destroy the economy, turn us into Venezuela.
He wants to run against the Green New Deal.
Oh, yes.
He's licking his chops.
Yeah, it's like a juicy steak. I mean, getting rid of cows, airplanes, no more Hawaiian senators.
Right. It's like the Big Mac president running against the vegans. Yeah, it's not going to fly.
It's amazing. And I think also bureaucratic-run socialized medicine is not the key to the American healthcare system either. I believe that the moms across America with their children want to keep their private health care and make choices for their own children.
Bernie wants to get rid of private health care.
Could you
said
imagine
that the other day.
your 12-year-old kid sitting in a line like the VA and saying, well, we haven't determined yet if your child is worth living?
No, there'd be riots in the streets. Don't mess with moms. Don't mess with moms.
And that's what the Democrats are doing. And I think the president understands that private health care is the best choice for everybody's, parents and their children. When healthcare choices have to be made, it sounds really great when you're 19 years old, but when you really have real healthcare choices, you want private healthcare, and you want the people on the other side of the table to benefit from saving your life.
How's the president's mood?
He has been very easy to work with this week. He's been very,
I can see
very
why.
Smiley.
Yeah, he's been disciplined.
Yeah,
we've been noticing.
I was in the White House this week. He served me hors d'oeuvres. That was a first.
Yeah, what were they, like pigs in a blanket?
Yes, a little pigs in a blanket.
Did I get that
meatballs.
right?
Yes, there was. You got that. Was one of them. He gave the Diet Coke. He was very happy.
All right.
It was my first in 9 years serving of hors d'oeuvres from the president, which says a very good mood.
All right. Well, he's serving up a lot of the other things for the American people, like jobs and strength. And
helping with forced transfer, intellectual property issues in China, all these things he's dealing with. People don't even understand. During this entire attack, he still solved more issues than any American president in history. All the while being attacked with probably one of the most deceitful and destructive lies that any president's ever had to deal with. Now think about it. Think what he's going to do in the next 2 years without that behind him.
Yeah. 6 years, you mean?
Yeah, 6 years, of course.
All right, Brad, thank you very much.
Thank you for having Jesse.
For more insight, let's turn to Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Energy and Commerce Committees. Congressman, so President Trump has threatened to close down the border before. This time, though, he says he is not kidding around. Do you believe that this time he's serious, that'll really do it? And if he does, would you support it?
He may be serious. I think it would be a bad move. One of the reasons we're concerned about illegal immigration is the impact on the economy. I want an immigration system that works, that's generous, but is controlled. Shutting down the border with our third largest trading partner would have a pretty massive impact, not just in actual trade, but in the psychological damage it'll do. But I think there's a lot of other ways that we can handle this, and that the president needs to and is trying to, which is Mexico has to step up. Securing our border will actually give Mexico the impetus, the motivation to actually stop the migrant situation at their border with Central America, because they're not going to be able to get into our country. This is a real emergency. Jay Johnson said it yesterday, Obama's former Homeland Secretary. We've seen it. It's got to be done. We have to take care of this problem.
So you think it's a real emergency, but you would not support President Trump closing the border entirely. But Secretary Nielsen suggested that perhaps instead of closing all of the border, just closing some ports of entry. How do you feel about that?
I think it's possible. It depends what that looks like. I mean, again, the devil's in the details on this, but I do think there has got to be a cost to Mexico. I mean, right now, Mexico initially said they were going to cut a deal with us to allow people seeking asylum to actually stay in Mexico until their court date. That hasn't come to fruition. They started out with a good relationship between the new president and President Trump, only to see the president of Mexico back away. So there has got to be punishment for Mexico. I agree. I don't know if shutting down the entire border is actually going to have the kind of impact we think versus the impact on our economy. But if we can do it targeted and it works, I'm in. I'm in. Whatever needs to happen, because this is a big problem.
I know a lot of folks on Capitol Hill were pretty surprised today when President Trump, after the Barr summary of the Mueller report came out and he was taking his first kind of victory lap on Capitol Hill, he came out and said that we're now going to be focused on health care, and that really surprised a lot of folks. Do you think that that is what the Republican Party should be focused on right now?
No, I think it's time for us. It's not going to happen probably by this next election, but all of us need to take a deep breath, and Republicans and Democrats try to find a way to actually fix health care. This has been a decade now where it has been just Democrats or just Republicans trying to fix this health care system, and neither has been successful. Let's find a way to get to that. I think this has taken, frankly, the Democrats, has given them the ability to now go on offense, where they were having to defend against really ridiculous things like Medicare for all that didn't make any financial sense. And so I think it's pretty much unfortunate. That said, I'd love to see this healthcare system replaced with something better. We had our opportunity. I think it's now for us to come together and fix what we can.
But it appears as though President Trump is not going to let this go. So what do Republicans like you do? I mean, do you come up with a plan, or do you try to convince the president to let this one go?
Well, the president can, from the executive branch making those decisions, they can obviously do what they want. We're not responsible for everything the executive branch does simply because we're in the same party. We have put forward what I thought was a good plan 2 years ago. As we know, the Rand Paul types in the Senate tried to change it to a very different plan, and it all ultimately failed. I'd love to see that happen, but knowing what's happened in the past, I think it'd be pretty difficult.
Congressman, one more quick question for you. I know Jesse Smollett is from your home state. The Chicago police are now calling for a federal investigation into what happened there. Do you think that's necessary now? Would you support that?
Absolutely. For Jesse Smollett to use Make America Great Again, to say that it was a Trump supporter, that they were screaming MAGA and using nooses, has a whole different impact than somebody just faking a crime. This actually could have made legitimate Trump supporters, people who care about this country, a target. This was wrong. I cannot believe Kim Foxx dropped these charges. The Chicago police have a right to be upset. I think the feds need to come in and charge him with mail fraud and anything used that has a federal nexus.
A lot of people surprised that those charges were dropped. Congressman, thank you so much.
Anytime.